everybody. Friday, yes, Friday, May 2nd, 2025. My name is Kevin Smith. Thank you all so much for tuning in to Loud Majority Live. We got a jam-packed show for you guys today. We are going to meet the Doge Crew. The Doge Crew comes out, speaks to Jesse Waters last night with some unbelievable information about the amount of waste going on in this government. It is out of control. Not only the waste, but the flippancy of it, the lack of care about what money is being spent where. No business could operate in this sort of way, and I think that is what is so critical about the work that Doge is doing. I think that's what's so critical about it. And that's why it's so great to have people who have run businesses in this administration. We're going to get into all that. Also, we're going to meet Big Balls. Big Balls finally comes out. Wait till you see what this kid looks like, okay? This is the guy that Democrats tried to say was going to lead to the end of America. Also, I'm pretty sure Scott Jennings is watching this show as he made fun of Tim Walz and his jazz hands. We're going to look into that. More evidence coming out about Kilmar Abuego Garcia. Not great stuff from his human smuggling to the fact that he was definitely going to kill his wife. Not good stuff. Not good stuff whatsoever. Also, jobs reports. Guys, this is going very well. Ignore the polls. This is going incredibly well. We're going to dive into that. And also, Trump has decided to pull the tax exemption from Harvard. I'm going to give him a little bit of advice on that. Before we get started, as we rock, as we roll, guys, do me a favor and hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. Let's pop this live chat up on the screen. We got big number today. I'm liking it. I'm liking it a lot. Thank you all for kicking it with us all day long, guys. Before we get started, head on over to loudmajorityusa.com. That's loudmajorityusa.com. Sign up for the newsletter. Check out our shop. We've got all the good stuff over there. You guys are going to love it, as always. You guys know you can pick up the very similar looking, but is not a Jack Daniels Donald Trump t-shirt that I'm currently wearing right now. Of course, it's definitely not a Jack Daniels t-shirt. For the lawyers out there, definitely not a Jack Daniels t-shirt. However, it might look slightly similar. You guys can head on over there, check it out, check out the shop, consider becoming a monthly donor over to the Loud Majority. That's the best way to help out all the activism we've got going on over there. And use promo code LFA to get 20% off everything on the website. I really do appreciate the support. What up, everybody? Shout out to everybody watching in the chat. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, good stuff. Absolutely good stuff. Let's keep rocking. Let's keep rolling here. Shout out to my friend. I hope you guys liked The Real Politically Savvy. I had her on yesterday during the Pete Santilli show. Check her out across all of the platforms. So, as I said yesterday the Doge team revealed themselves to the world. The evil, mean, no good, very bad Doge team. They sat down with Jesse Waters last night on Fox News to talk about some of the work that they've been doing. And one of the things that I thought was so interesting about this sit-down was not even the cuts that they're making. The cuts are interesting because, believe me, the waste, the fraud, and the abuse is out of control, as we've known for quite some time. But just the IT updates in streamlining the stuff in government that actually matters. I mean, you look, We're going to show you this room, and half of the people in this room look like they're like under the age of 25, okay? They're whiz kids. They know what they're doing. This is not the first time that the United States government has put a whole bunch of smart people in a room and begun to make changes. We know that John F. Kennedy did the exact same thing. As a matter of fact, his cabinet was literally called the whiz kids as he plucked many of the smart people from Harvard back when Harvard was impressive. People like McNamara and Ted Sorensen, many of the smart people that came out of the Harvard Kennedy School. Well, it wasn't called the Kennedy School then; it was just the Harvard School of Politics. He brought good people into the room, and this is what the Doge team is doing, particularly in streamlining the IT that our government uses. Anyone who's ever worked in a government office or looked at the computer at the DMV knows that these people are operating on like Windows 98. It's antiquated. It's backlogged. Many of them still use paper for a lot of things. And because of this, this is a lot of the reason why it takes 20 years to get a permit for something. It's because many of the systems we use are unbelievably antiquated. But because of the antiquated systems that we use, it also leaves the door open for us not to be able to see where exactly all the money is going. And the brazen stealing that has been going on, particularly when it comes to, in terms of COVID funding, was out of control. Here was the Doge crew.
Sure. So actually, a lot of great work at the Treasury this week. One of the crazy things with regards to the Treasury is that when a payment is made, and the computers at the Treasury actually pay about $5 trillion per year, like crazy amounts, there was formerly not a budget code on there. So if a payment was made, you didn't know actually what it was for. It could have been for anything. Yeah. There was a $4 billion COVID fund in the Department of Education. And there was no receipts required, so people could just draw down on it. And when people looked into it, this wasn't us, this was before us, they found that money was being used to rent out Caesar's Palace for parties, rent out stadiums, et cetera. And so the one change that Doge made with the Department of Education is we had the simple requirement that if you draw down money, you must first upload a receipt. That was the only change that was made. You must upload your receipt. And upon doing so, yes, nobody drew down any money anymore.
Yes, but we didn't say that we'd check the receipt. You could send a fake receipt. You could send a picture of your dog. Anything. But as soon as we asked for anything at all, suddenly the requests were like, oh, we don't need it anymore. Huh, that's interesting.
They were renting Caesar's Palace.
Yes, they were like basically partying on the taxpayer money.
Stadiums.
Yes.
Leasing stadiums. For what?
For parties, basically.
For parties?
Yes.
That's a big party.
It's a big party.
You'd think if you were stealing, you'd start small.
They do start small. But then what happens is over the years, so generally the fraud starts out small and they try to hide it. But then year after year, if nobody stops the fraud, it gets more and more brazen. And every year it gets bigger until they're literally renting out stadiums. Like
what's $1 million to rent out a stadium?
Fraud in flagrante delicto, okay?
In flagrante delicto. I don't know what the hell that means, but renting out Caesar's Palace for parties at the Department of Education from COVID funds, okay? Firstly, why was I not invited to these parties? That might not be the most important question, but it's up there on the list. Stadiums. Which stadiums? I'd like to know which one of the billionaires out there, the millionaires and the billionaires, which one of the billionaires that own these stadiums were the ones renting, let's see if we can work this out, renting out their stadiums to organizations in the Department of Education with COVID funds. I want names. Really? Renting out Caesar's Palace. I mean, look, I bet the party was great. No doubt. Anyone who's ever been to Caesar's, you know how much fun it is. There's that big statue of the lady holding a gallon of water right up in the front. It's a good time. But I don't know if that's what the COVID funds were supposed to go for. And believe me, I want to be clear. There were people out there, left, right, center, up, down, and sideways, that misused those funds. Basically, anybody with a good enough accountant was able to apply for these PPP loans. Wink, wink. Anybody was able to apply for them and use them at their discretion. And the minute some accountability was put in, the minute some accountability got put in, hey, guys, look, we're not saying you can't have them. We just want to see the receipts. The minute it happened, the well dried up, and nobody was interested in it anymore. Nobody at all. Turns out because they knew what they were doing. And Elon's right. With any crime, with any scandal, with any Ponzi scheme, with anything like that, it always does start out small. No insider trader, makes the big buy right at the top. They ease into it. And then when they don't get caught, they get more and more and more brazen. Like any fraud. It's not a new story. It's a story as old as time. The difference is now we're beginning to have people that are actually looking into it, that are actually curious. And let's see what all comes of that. Nobody likes Taylor Swift. She gets USAID for her tickets. I like Taylor Swift. I'm only kidding. I like her old stuff, but we won't talk about that. Also, there was something... We were partnering with something called the Institute of Peace. The Institute of Peace. Now, for anyone who's ever read a George Orwell novel, I'm fairly certain you can come to grips with the fact that the Institute of Peace probably doesn't have much to do with peace. I don't know. I've got a feeling it probably doesn't have anything to do with it. However, I didn't think it was going to, fund the Taliban. Why do we spend so much time funding the Taliban? They are a gaggle of 8th century goat herders. How much money do they possibly need?
Yeah, and so it was by far the least peaceful agency that we've worked with, ironically.
Of course.
Additionally, we found that they were spending money on things like private jets, and they even had a $130,000 contract with a former member of the Taliban. This is real. We don't encounter that at most agencies.
Yeah.
What was the money going to the Taliban for?
So it was a contractor. They received $130,000 for generic services. And to Elon's point, there was not actually a clear description of what the contractor services were for. But
was it for opium?
Unclear.
Or weapons?
Or nothing.
Or nothing.
or abroad.
Or, nothing.
And you naturally have to ask the question, how did we get here? Like, when the country was founded, there were only 4 agencies. Today, there are over 400. So there's been a 100x increase in the number of agencies since the founding of the nation. And thanks to President Trump, he's now signed 2 executive orders to start to reduce the number of agencies in the government, and the Institute of Peace was one of them, which is why our team went in to try and understand what was going on. And that's when we found all of the craziness, like the weapons in their armory. We found the payments to the Taliban.
Okay.
So
try to hide the evidence.
Right. So just a few hours after we got into their headquarters, we found that their chief accountant had actually deleted over 1 terabyte of accounting records from several years. So you'd have to ask the question, well, why would somebody do that? The Doge team, fortunately, was able to recover that data with the help of a few great employees at the Institute of Peace. And I think the most troubling thing was they received $55 million a year from Congress, and any money that went unspent, instead of returning that to Congress, they would sweep it into a private bank account, which had no congressional oversight. And that's what they would use to fund things like events at their headquarters and the private jets. And so I think it's a great example because most Americans don't know what's going on at a lot of these smaller agencies. And this is, I think, the most extreme case of some of the wasteful spend that we're finding.
So the agencies are hiding money from you. They're sending it to the Taliban. They have loaded weapons in the department buildings.
At the Institute of Peace.
At the Institute of Peace.
Yes.
That's right.
So this is a cover-up when you guys roll in.
This one, yes, a cover-up. Yes.
It's a cover-up.
They did delete a vast amount of financial information. That's really the definition of a cover-up.
Isn't that illegal to delete evidence?
Yes.
Shred documents?
It is. It's certainly illegal to delete accounting records that that Congress would certainly want to know where the congressionally appropriated funds are going from taxpayers.
When you catch them going Hillary style on their computers, do you refer this to the Department of Justice?
In this case, we did refer the evidence in the accounting example to the FBI and DOJ, and we were proud to do that. So yes, we did.
Resistance has shown.
You see, I think there's a misconception, okay? I think there's a misconception between waste, fraud, and abuse, okay? Because people, I think people see them as three separate categories. There's waste in the government, there's fraud in the government, there's abuse in the government. I don't believe that's the case. I believe they are levels. I believe it starts out as waste. Then once they get away with waste, they move up to abuse. And then they move up to the fraud. I think if it was described that way, because many people are saying, there's all this waste, fraud, and abuse. Where's the crime? I think people can waste money all the time. They do it. People waste money every day. Fraud, that's a crime. And it's good to know that the guys over at Doge are actually beginning to refer some of this to the DOJ, bring this to people who can actually do something about it. Deleting a terabyte of data. Now, I don't know anything about computers. I think a terabyte is a lot. Megabyte, kilobyte, terabyte, whatever. It's all. When it comes to technology like that, I'm like 110 years old. But I think a terabyte's a lot. And if you're deleting accounting information, it's because you don't want someone to see it. And the reason why you don't want someone to see it is because if someone does see it, they might get a little mad. They might get a little upset. And it turns out that's what we're getting. Where the Institute of Peace has an armory. What? Shouldn't the Institute of Peace be filled with, like, I don't know, LSD and patchouli oil? Like, I don't know. That doesn't seem very, like, peace and love, man. When you have an armory of M16s in your basement. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but hey, what do I know? I'm not an expert in peace. Trust the experts, guys. Trust the experts. In just 1 second, we are going to get to the big reveal. Who is he? Who is Big Balls? The man Democrats told you was going to undermine the credibility of the American government. The man Democrats told you was going to lead to the downfall of this great nation. Who could that man be? We'll get to him in 1 second. Before we do that, Old Glory Bang.
When big banks decide who gets access to America's financial systems and who doesn't, who do you think gets left out? Middle Americans who proudly wave their pro-America values. Cancel culture in banking is corrosive. It limits your participation in a vibrant, free market economy. Fortunately, you can fight back. You now have the opportunity to invest in the bank that's investing in a fair American banking system, one based in freedom. Ownership in Old Glory Bank, the pro-America online bank, is here. Old Glory Bank is a full-service FDIC-insured bank that's the alternative to overreaching, un-American big banks. We stand for privacy, security, and liberty. We stand for freedom, family, faith, and the flag. We stand for all the values you stand for, and for the values big banks can't stand. So help keep banking in the hands of Main Street, not Wall Street. To invest in Old Glory Bank, go to oldglorybank.com.
Guys, support the people who support the parallel economy by going to own.oldglorybank.com. That is own.oldglorybank.com, and you can own part of a bank for just $63. Buy a share in Old Glory Bank today at just $63. Guys, go to own.oldglorybank.com. Let's pop this live chat up on the screen. I want to see what you guys are thinking. What are we doing? How's everybody doing? Is it your first time watching the show today? You guys know I love all the new viewers. I want to see you. Giddy up. Let's go. Kathy Jen, how are you? Richie, how are you? Jeanette, how are you? Shout out to everybody watching in all of the chats. Natalie, as always. Arrow Pink, how are you? Block Ad Runner. That's a good one. I like that. Block Ad Runner 56. Is that a Giants fan, I think? Could that be a New York Giants fan? I don't know. Could it be? Serby, happy birthday. We got a birthday in the chat. You guys know we love all the birthdays. Shout out. Where is Old Glory Bank? We don't have one in New York City. Yes, you can. There are numerous physical locations like Targets you guys can go to if you want to sign up for Old Glory Bank. You can bank at Target. There are numerous. If you guys go on the website, they'll be able to tell you exactly where you can go. Natalie, what's going on with the Mets? Lost 2 games. They should have won. Yes, they should have. Yes, they absolutely should have. Wendy, what's up from Pennsylvania? Beautiful day on Long Island. Oklahoma, where the wind goes sweeping through the plains, but you can bank at places online. Giddy up, let's go. So obviously, you guys are all here for the big reveal. Big balls. Who is he? Is he an angry man? Does he resemble some sort of Quasimodo type figure who lurks in the distance like a Nosferatu that just sits in the darkness and waits to fire foreign workers? No. He's actually some 23-year-old kid who looks like he's never seen a woman naked. This is the guy. That the entire left was absolutely mortified of.
Big balls.
That should be obvious.
Why do they call you Big Balls?
I just said it as my LinkedIn username.
Okay.
Well, people on LinkedIn take themselves like super seriously, and they're pretty adverse to risk. And I was like, well, I want to be neither of those things. So I said it, and honestly, I didn't even think anyone would notice.
Yeah.
So what do you
LinkedIn
do?
is so cringe.
What does Big Balls do?
Right now, I'm working on some payment computer stuff. So one of our initiatives is to root out fraud and waste. And to do that, we started looking at the payment computers. And as mentioned earlier, like there is no accounting of what payments actually go to in the payment computer. So like you look at a specific line item, like $20 million, and you're like, okay, well, what is this money going to? And for the majority of payment systems, it's like, well, we don't really know. And
Yeah, they're like, what? That would be the response.
Is this the most basic responses?
Yeah,
yeah.
that's the most common response.
What do you say when people just say, I don't know?
Well, it's a huge cause for concern because like the upstream thing, which is distributing the money, literally has no checks and no accountability to the actual American taxpayer. So it's a huge vector for fraud, waste, and abuse.
Do these people not respect taxpayer money?
I mean, there's no incentive to if you work in the government. I think the incentives will always decide the outcomes.
Yes.
The incentives will always decide the outcomes. Absolutely. There's a guy in my Facebook chat right now who apparently has nothing better to do. Really funny. Front stab. All right. Yeah. He said, I sound drunk. So I sound like Kamala Harris, I guess. I don't know. But the incentives are what's important. Moreover, the punishment is what's important. But the real reason I showed that to you is that's the guy. That's the guy Democrats tried to convince you was going to undermine government. A kid who looks like he's never shaved before, wearing his father's suit, who's like making code changes at the Department of the Interior. That's the guy that's going to end the government. If the American government is so flimsy that it hinges on that kid's ability to destroy the damn thing, then maybe it was built on a pile of sand to begin with. Elon Musk has about 80 more days before he has to leave the government as a special government employee. But I hope Doge stays. So far, Doge says that they have come up with $150 billion worth of the waste, fraud, and abuse. I hope they keep digging. Because look, even if they didn't cut a single program, even if they didn't cut a single program, they would save money and, more importantly, time simply by streamlining the IT process. Which, let's be honest, with the amount of people, with the age of the average person who works in government, I'm sure that hasn't been updated in quite some time. But Kevin, you will say, what about all the job cuts? What about all the job cuts? What are we going to do? We're taking people out of their jobs. The unemployment rate is going to go up. No. Turns out none of that happened. As a matter of fact, for the month of April, they added 177,000 more jobs, mostly in the service industry. We're going to get into why after the clip. But even with the amount of government workers who were laid off and subsequently went on unemployment, the unemployment rate still did not tick up. What does that tell me? That tells me that a lot of these government workers took the buyout and got new jobs in the private sector, which is quite literally the entire point of them cutting jobs in the first place. Here was CNN having to admit it again out loud.
All right, breaking moments ago, the April jobs report just released showing steady gains amid some economic uncertainty. I want to bring in CNN's Matt Egan, who joins me now with more. All right, what are we seeing in the numbers? What is the context here?
Yeah, Omar, we were bracing for a slowdown in the jobs market. We did not get that. We got steady hiring. This jobs market is just relentless. Let me run you through the key numbers.
Yeah, let's do it.
177,000 jobs were added in the month of April. That easily beat forecasts for 135,000. So not even close there. The unemployment rate stayed low. It stayed at 4.2%. When we look at where the jobs are right now, we're seeing solid gains in a number of places. Accommodation and food services, right? Restaurants, hotels, hospitals, healthcare, private education, all of them adding jobs. One place where we saw a loss of jobs again was the federal government as the DOGE cuts to the workforce continue. But still, when we really zoom out here, this jobs market has been solid, right? I mean, 177,000 jobs. That, when we look at the trend, look at this. We saw that March was actually significantly revised lower to 185,000 jobs added. That's down from the original report. So you can see that there really isn't all that much of a change here, and these are still very solid numbers. Now, this is a big contrast to what's shown up in the surveys, right? We've seen so much gloom and doom from consumers, small business owners, CEOs. There's all of these concerns about the economy, about the trade war. One thing I would note as we look at the market reaction, futures were up ahead of this, they remain up. One thing I would just stress is that this does not mean that the economy is out of the woods, right? It does not take off the risk of a recession, right? Because there is the risk that there's a demand shock, there's a hit to the jobs market that just isn't visible yet.
So you see, everybody, things are great. Markets are rebounding, which we told you they would. Because it turns out, Econ 101, markets go up, markets go down. But with the adding of almost 200,000 new jobs, particularly in places like the service sector, that tells you what? That tells you that tourism is up. Because you don't have to hire more waiters or hotel staff if nobody is staying, if nobody is traveling. Government jobs are down, which means business is booming as they hire more and more workers. With the unemployment rate staying flat at 4.2%, even with the federal jobs cuts, we're finding out that these people that left the federal government are just going and working in the private sector, which is the whole point of this. Now, as I said, we're going to take a look. Right now, the Dow Jones appears to be up about, where are we at here? About a percentage and a half over the course of today. But this will come with the tax cuts that are coming. This will come with no tax on tips, overtime, Social Security, a cutting of the corporate tax rate. Absolutely. Moreover, once we see that, in order to stave off inflation, Jerome Powell is going to have to cut rates. Quarter of a percent, perhaps 0.5%. And if he does, you mark this down. What are we? May 2nd at 1:32 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Kevin said that the Dow will be up to 50,000 as soon as we get tax cuts and as soon as we get that Fed rate cut. You watch, it's going to boom. Because that's what markets do. So if I were you, and this is not financial advice, because that would be illegal, but if I were you and you were me and we were each other, I would probably tell you, guys, get in. Get into the Russell 2000. Get into the S&P 500. If I were to do that, which I'm not going to do, obviously, I'm not going to tell you all to do that, I would say get into the Russell 2000 right about now. But that's just me. That's just me. Let's keep rocking and rolling here, guys. Before we keep going, a quick word from Jeremy Harrell.
Oh, hey, folks. How you doing? Jeremy Harrell here, LFA TV. I was just reading up here on Fatty 15. Sounds kind of funny, right? It's not, though. Fatty 15 is a new supplement that we are taking here at LFA TV that I'm personally taking myself that has a nutrient in it called C15. And what is C15? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we can thank our aquatic friends, the dolphins, for science figuring this out. The first breakthrough in 90 years about what the proper amount of C15 in your body can do. Every one of us wants peace. Every one of us wants to experience joy and a long life with our kids and our grandkids sitting in a setting like you see behind me. Well, there's one way that you can do that outside of eating right, having a good diet, exercising, saying your prayers, eating your vitamins, but also taking supplements that our bodies just don't produce anymore because we're all breaking down, especially as we get older. Fatty 15 has a nutrient called C15, and what this does is it, first of all, repairs your old damaged cells and then kind of slows down the aging process of your cells, giving you longevity of life. And 72% of people taking Fatty 15 see massive benefits within 16 weeks. Some earlier, some later. But those benefits are absolutely amazing, ladies and gentlemen. Most people said their liver and heart health feels much better. A lot of people said that their skin is changing. They feel like they're healthier. Their metabolic system changes. And ladies and gentlemen, it's also vegan friendly. Now, Fatty 15 has 3 times the cellular benefits as any omega-3 or fish oil. Omega-3 and fish oil also can go bad after a while. By replenishing our cells with this C15 nutrient that I'm talking about in here, Fatty 15 effectively repairs cells and restores our long-term health. Now, I can get you a 15% off a 90-day subscription right now by going to fatty15.com/LFA. Promo code LFA. That's fatty15.com/LFA. Promo code LFA. And ladies and gentlemen, despite the name, it's not going to make you a fatty. It's actually going to give you something that you've been wanting for a long time, to feel younger again. Who doesn't want that? Fatty15.com/LFA, code LFA. Check it out now. Thank you guys so very much. Have a wonderful day.
All righty, guys. So we are going to move on real quick. Look, every day CNN is forced. Every day CNN is forced to admit things that they don't really like. Every single day. And every day I keep laughing about it. I keep laughing about it. Because CNN keeps asking the same question over and over and over again, looking for different results. And they're not getting it. Because it turns out 98, 99% of Trump supporters still support what he's doing. Because we're actually getting what we asked for. And now, when CNN starts doing polling on whether or not people have regrets, well, this happens.
Who would be doing a better job as president? Guess who comes out on top? Within the margin of error, but comes out on top. This looks a lot like the election result, right? Trump 45%, 2 points ahead of Harris at 43%. 12% say they'd be doing about the same. But this is the key nugget here. It's not just about regretting that vote. It's literally saying who would be doing the better job right now. And Trump continues to score a higher percentage of the vote than Kamala Harris, this looks a heck of a lot like the election result. We have just seen this in poll after poll after poll.
Poll after poll after poll. But Kevin, why? Why exactly are polling numbers so bad for Donald Trump? But when you get down to the substance of it, you find out that maybe people are kind of happy with it. Because it turns out when you ask someone a direct question, you get a direct answer. When you ask an ambiguous one, you get an ambiguous answer. Also, if you want, as I said on yesterday's show, if you want to get a skewed poll, just get more Democrats. But when you say, hey, how's Donald Trump doing? Would you change your vote? You get a direct answer. CNN didn't really like that poll, so they sent Van Jones out into the field, and they decided to ask people whether or not they'd do it again.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump again, yes or no?
Yes, I would. Now, in the future, I am not a diehard Democrat or diehard Republican. If there were a Democratic candidate who was more aligned for me, then I would vote Democrat.
If you go back in time, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
Yes.
I think I might know the answer on this next one.
He said yes. It's immediately yes. No, I'm sorry.
If you had to do it all over again, would you vote for Donald Trump, yes or no?
1,000% absolutely yes.
Van Jones kind of playing it coy. I did like Anderson Cooper's stupid face there at the very end of it. But they can keep doing this. They're going to keep getting the exact same result. In just a minute, we are going to show you the debate's over, guys. The debate's over. It's been a long-running debate, but I have a definitive answer. I have found the official dumbest cast member on The View. I've done it. I will never make fun of someone who is not this person ever again. Before we get to that, guys, head on over to lfatv.us. That's lfatv.us. That's your home base, your mothership, your landing pad for all things LFA-TV related. Check out the LFA-TV store. And while you guys are there, consider becoming a monthly donor over at lfatv.us. That's how we keep the lights on over here. That's how we keep the lights on over here. Also, for my local crowd, tomorrow, tomorrow, at 54 Main Street in Kings Park, we are going to be having the opening of the Smithtown HQ. If you're from the local area and you want to get involved in local politics, you want to see how politics actually works, if you think it's just yelling on Fox News or yelling on a podcast, that's not how politics works. We're on the ground. We're doing what needs to be done. That's tomorrow, 54 Main Street in Kings Park. Come on down between 10 and 1. Come see me, hang out, have some breakfast, meet some local officials, get the answers you're looking for. Also, oh, hello, that's very big. Let's make that a little bit smaller. On Sunday, May 4th, I will be at the Lindenhurst Street Fair in my hometown. We're for a massive voter registration drive. Come on down. Join the efforts. Become part of the movement. I'm looking for 50 new voters. I want 50 new voters from my hometown, Lindenhurst Street Fair. Come on down. I could certainly use the help. Anybody who is around. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So, as I said, the debate's over. It's over. We have found a dumbest cast member on The View who has decided to compare an illegal immigrant, human trafficking, gang member, wife beater to black people who were brought to America as slaves to a black man. Everyone, I give you the dumbest cast member on The View, Adam Navarro.
It seems to me that the political analysis of this, though, is, and a lot of average people are looking at it this way, why is it that we can let 20 million people into the country just walk across, whatever, and there's no real process for them to do that. But then we have to individually pick out every single person and go through years upon years upon years of paperwork and this and that and the other. And all we're trying to do is send them back to where they came from because they came here illegally in the first place. 20 million in with no process. How do you get 20 million out with years and years of people fighting every single case? You could cherry pick any case you want. But the reality is the crisis that put Donald Trump in the White House was caused over years and years and years of neglect and letting people walk into here without any process at all, and now you're trying to gum up the works to keep them here.
A lot of them came in. A lot of them came in with parole. A lot of them came in.
CNN polling shows 54% of Americans want Mr.
November
Rodrigo
polling showed
Garcia
Donald
back.
Trump won the
That's
election.
CNN polling.
The
public is shifting.
We are a sovereign nation, and you cannot just come into our country illegally whenever the heck you want, because we can't do it to any other country on the face of this earth.
Asylum is a legal right.
If you come in illegally, you have to leave. Americans are tired of that. We do not have unlimited resources.
You know who was here illegally with a deportation order? Marco Rubio's grandfather.
All right, let's.
We're not talking about Marco Rubio.
Oh, now we're not? Now that's not relevant?
It's not
relevant. No, I'm talking about Marco Rubio because Marco Rubio used to be an advocate for TPS for Venezuelans, and Marco Rubio used to be an advocate for Nicaraguans and Cubans. No, I know you're not.
If you come into this country illegally, you are going home. Simple as that. We do not have unlimited resources.
I think
in
a
this
lot of
country
Americans
to take care of other people.
There's a hell of a lot of people other than the black
Anna.
people who were brought here as slaves who came to this country illegally.
They're not the same as black people who were brought here against our will.
That's exactly what I just said.
I said
there is a lot of people
There's a big
than the black people.
There is a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said.
There's a big difference.
That's exactly what I just said, Sir Michael. Look and act indignant. That's exactly what I just said.
It's not about acting indignant.
Let me just share Michael.
That's other than the black
Anna and share Michael.
There are a lot of people from many
I think you actually misheard what she. I think you misheard what she said.
No, he purposely misheard it.
She said.
I purposely misheard. So now you're in my
Share
brain?
Michael, listen to me for just a second.
Is that where we're going?
You think I would say I who have advocated for black people my entire life would say something like that?
You better not get mad at a very feisty Latino woman. Oh yeah, she'll start snapping her fingers and shit. Sorry. Trying to be good. Ana Navarro, dumbest person on The View, who just said that illegal immigrants who come to America voluntarily and now have to go home are the same as African slaves who were brought here in chains. Ana Navarro, you win the award for the dumbest cast member on The View, which I have to be honest, you know, I really thought it was going to be Joy. I really did. If I was a betting man, which I am, I would have put my last dollar on Joy Behar, which brings me no great joy, no pun intended, as she used to teach at my high school. Joy, you got to step your game up, I think. You got to step your game up. If you want the award next year of the simplest dumbass on The View, you gotta go on CNN more. You got to do it. Have to do it. Guys, hit that thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place because we're going to dive into Kilmar Abuega Garcia. You got to make sure you roll your R because if you don't, it's racist. It turns out we now have a video of him smuggling human beings. Something that we all said was happening, something that we all knew, and the Democrats pretended wasn't happening. Before we get to that, Mike Lindell.
I'm excited to announce that we're having our first ever mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. For example, save over 50% on this season's flannel sheets. Queen size only $59.98. Kings only $69.98. They sell out fast every year, so order now. Save 20% on our brand new My Crosses. They're designed in the likeness of the one I've worn every day for over 20 years. They come in men's and women's, and they're made right here in the USA. Get our 2025 six-piece My Towel sets for only $29.98. Our initial quantities are extremely low, so get them now before they go. And our best-selling standard My Pillows, just $14.98. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use this promo code to take advantage of our first ever mega sale. But wait, remember that $75 free shipping rule? Well, that ship is sailed because right now, every order ships absolutely free.
Guys, head on over to MyPillow.com. Promo code LOUD. That's MyPillow.com. Use promo code LOUD. That's promo code LOUD for up to 80% off everything on the website. Mike's having a big old mega sale over there. Check it out. That's mypillow.com. Promo code LOUD. Sorry. So, as I said, we're getting more details about Kilmar Abuego Garcia. Got to make sure you roll that R or it's racist. Turns out he was pulled over in the middle of Missouri with 8 people in the car. All right. He had 8 people in the car. All right. Okay. Nothing illegal about that. He admits he picked them up in Texas and was driving them to Maryland. Texas to Maryland. If you don't stop, that's a 2-day trip. So you got 8 people in the car. I don't know how you fit 8 people in that car. Apparently he put a 4th row in the back of this vehicle. And I don't know about you guys, but if I go on a 2-day car ride, I might bring some luggage. I don't know, maybe change the drawers, extra pair of socks, I don't know, some kind of clothing. But turns out, nope, none of that was the case. He was pulled over with him, someone in the front seat, and 8 people in the back of the vehicle. None of them had any luggage. All they had was a toothbrush and toothpaste in their pocket, and he had $1,400 in cash in an envelope in his pocket. Now, I want to be clear, there is one real easy way to know if someone's money is from nefarious means. Number 1, it is wrapped in a circular motion with a rubber band. Definitely drug money. Number 2, it's in an envelope because most people keep their cash in a wallet like a normal person. Unless a little under the table. Here was Kilmar Abuego Garcia.
This is textbook human trafficking. I'll remind viewers that there were 8 other individuals in this car that Kilmar Abuego Garcia was driving. They were driving allegedly from Texas to Maryland. That's a 3-day journey. Not a single piece of luggage in that vehicle. That screams of human trafficking. But I also want to remind viewers that in 2019, Kilmar Abuego Garcia was arrested. He was arrested with multiple other members of MS-13. He was decked out in MS-13 symbols. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, which is MS-13's logo and slogan. And further, he had drugs and rolls of cash on him. And you mentioned earlier in this segment how he had written testimony by his wife that she was detained by him, abused by him, psychologically abusing his own children and her children. This is no innocent Maryland man, as the media has been trying to whitewash the situation for weeks.
The Maryland man, the poor Maryland man, the poor Maryland man who human traffics and beats up his wife and broke into the country illegally and is part of an international terrorist organization. Poor Maryland dad. But Kevin, where is this evidence? Where's the evidence? Sure, you just saw a video of it, but where's the evidence, you ask? I've actually got some idiot liberals in my X chat right now. Hello, everyone. Tell the cats I said hello. Where's the evidence that he did all these awful things to his wife? Well, actually, here's the audio of her saying it.
I came to fill out a protective order. I think it was in December. But I didn't show up to the court because his family, washed my brain telling me that his dad was sick and not to do it. So I didn't do anything. But after that, it was I would call the police. I have a lot of police reports. And I kept trying to get to the door basement to try to open the door, and then he pushed me. So then when I was able to go outside to get a phone, I called 911 from a disconnected phone. Now they took a long time to get to the house. It was probably 20-30 minutes. So I saw a neighbor walking his dog, and I opened the door and I was like, help. And then when he heard me, he grabbed me from my hair and then he slapped me. And then the neighbor, he didn't know what to do. He didn't know what to react. I have pictures of the evidence, all the bruises, because even on Wednesday, he hit me around 3 in the morning. He would just wake up and hit me. And then last Saturday for my daughter's birthday party, before I went to my daughter's birthday party, he slapped me 3 times. And then last week I did call the police. My sister called the police because he hit me in front of my sister.
Hit me? Look, I don't know. I mean, it's getting to the point now with this Kilmar Abrego Garcia person that Democrats are expecting there to be like, I don't know, a 1099 filled out MS-13 member. What else do you want that this guy should not be in this country? His wife is safer. I am safer. You are safer. The people of Maryland are safer. America is better off without a human smuggling, wife beating, illegal immigrant gang member in America. You guys don't seem to care. Keep doing it. Chris Van Hollen, there's a reason why Hakeem Jeffries has instructed Democrats. They are no longer able to travel to El Salvador to advocate for Kilmar Abrego Garcia because it turns out this guy is a giant piece. It turns out that we don't need this guy in this country. And the more Democrats advocate for it, the higher Donald Trump's immigration numbers will go. The number one issue that matters. I feel bad for this woman. I feel bad that Democrats have been trotting her out here like some trophy abused wife. Any person, and I take no great joy in this, okay? But any person who's ever known a woman that's been beaten up by some piece of shit, physically, mentally, emotionally abused by some crappy guy out there, knows exactly what I'm talking about. They know exactly what I'm talking about. I take no joy in that. None whatsoever. But you know what? Everyone is safer with him not being in this country. Guys, do me a favor. Hit the thumbs up button. Share the video out all over the place. I want to thank everybody for kicking it on the LFA TV live stream all day because I want to be clear. There is something that is happening in the world that does, in fact, bring me great joy. And that is the fact that Donald Trump is beginning something that I have long said should happen. And that is pulling the tax exemptions from places like Harvard. Many of these colleges are not really colleges. They're hedge funds with schools attached to them. Here was that breaking news.
A look as I transition the shot, they say, quote, breaking. Trump says he'll revoke Harvard's tax-exempt status. We do know this announcement from President Donald Trump comes after Fox News reported last week that his administration did ask the Internal Revenue Service to revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status. We do have the very latest from the president bright and early this Friday moment as he did share a quote on his very own platform, Truth Social. We have it there on your screen. It says, quote, "We are going to be taking away Harvard's tax-exempt status. It's what they deserve," end quote. Now, this coming from President Donald Trump this Friday morning. We are waiting to get more information from Harvard University, looking on their X page this Friday to see if they will release a statement. But as you all know, again, this is a fluid situation. Again, this after the Trump administration did ask the IRS to revoke Harvard University's tax-exempt status. Several news outlets reporting this morning, including the New York Post. So several outlets are working to get more information as this story develops. And make sure to stay tuned to Live Now from Fox for those latest developments. Taking you back.
So I have long advocated for the idea that many of these college institutions, particularly the private ones, should not have this tax-free status. But why? Kevin, are you punishing Harvard for its anti-Semitism? Someone in the chat will call me a shill for Israel. Go ahead, feel free. No, that's not why. It's because these are tax shelters. They're tax shelters for the rich. You need a tax break? You want to get your kid into an elite institution? You donate $1 million to Harvard. $5 million, $10 million to Harvard. It then is a tax write-off. and Harvard doesn't have to pay on that money. Meanwhile, an institution like Harvard with a $53 billion tax-free endowment still gets an extra $3 to $4 billion a year in grant money from the federal government. So not only are they not paying taxes, but they're taking the taxpayer money. Now, Donald Trump will get criticized about this because of the Israel stuff. And I understand why people are upset about that. I think you should do it to all the colleges. Let them earn on their merit. And at the same time, Donald Trump should make student loans eligible for clearance through bankruptcy. You would see the cost of American colleges crater overnight. I could do a whole show on that. I could do an entire show on that. But we are getting close to the end of the show here today, guys. So I want to leave you all off with something funny. Because I have a feeling, I think Scott Jennings watches this show. I know he follows me on Twitter. If you guys watched the show yesterday, you guys know I had some fun at the expense of Tim Walz and his unbelievably flamboyant jazz hands. Jazz hands. Well, it turns out most men out there are starting to pick up on the fact that if you want to be the peak of masculinity, you will do whatever the opposite of Tim Walz is. Scott Jennings, let's have a laugh.
I think when your signature move is jazz hands, you're not as up on the white guy code maybe as you think you are. I mean, everything about this guy, from the choice, which was made, I think Shermichael's correct, which was made out of weakness, all through his campaign appearances, and now in the aftermath, I just don't think there's ever been anybody in recent political history in over their head more than Tim Walz. And
did you meet Dan Quayle?
It is amazing to me. It is amazing to me. Well, he served a term, did he not?
Yeah, and lost a second.
It is amazing to me that Democrats elevated this guy and that he continues to believe that he is going to be a leader of this party in 2028. The problems that the Democrats have with middle America, white men, working class men, if this is the road we're going down, the code talker Tim Walz are only going to get worse for Democrats.
I think there's also something.
I once again, we've got to make fun of Ana Navarro because she makes it too easy. She says that Dan Quayle, Republican, of course, is just like Tim Walz. Yeah, except he's not, because Dan Quayle was actually vice president. Tim Walz is just, I don't know, Homer Simpson come to life. Guys, I hope you all have a phenomenal weekend. It's going to be beautiful out here on Long Island. Will Johnson is coming up next right here on this show. Guys, hopefully I will see you tomorrow, 54 Main Street in Kings Park from 10 to 1. If not, hopefully I see you at Lindenhurst, the Lindenhurst Street Fair from 12 to 5 in Lindenhurst. Big voter registration drive on Sunday. Giddy up. Let's go. Will Johnson coming up. Guys, stay loud.